Why do you think this part of the Constitution is often overlooked in everyday discussions about civil rights?
If the 13th Amendment was addressed, then a lot of the people that profit off mass incarceration wouldn't be able to profit off it anymore. If the 13th Amendment was addressed, then it would partially expose reality that a lot of us are legalized slaves. So mass incarceration has become a billion-dollar industry that capitalizes off of the wrong decisions of many people, but at the same time, not that I'm giving an excuse because we all have choices. However, a lot of these decisions are influenced by circumstances, conditions, whatever the case may be.
How did mass incarceration affect your own life, and what impact do you see it having on families and communities?
For starters, how did mass incarceration affect my own life? It affected my life in many different ways. Like just growing up, I like to break it down in generations, right? So, you got the Generation X, the Generation Y. They really caught the first wave of mass incarceration. But now, like, I'm 26, so that leaves Gen Z. When you really look at it, it's like, who do we have to look up to if everybody father, everybody uncle, everybody cousin in jail? So we run in the streets, we going to school, getting in confrontations, not really having anybody to turn to but ourselves. So I've been through a lot of ups and downs just trying to figure out life and navigate life, not really having anybody to. I had somebody to tell me right from wrong, no, and I only like I have a dad, I have my father, but it's like it's certain things he didn't get that maybe like one of the older brothers from the neighborhood would have got, that I could have came to and expressed like, I wasn't fun. He could have gave me the righteous way to go about it, but without that, you only have like what your friends telling you, your emotions, and a lot of times, acting with emotions, that's you never want to just go up that. But yeah, like speaking from my perspective, I can speak from others, but I like to speak from my perspective. From my perspective, I left my family, like, and I feel like a time of need. I wasn't there to help my mom with the groceries, my niece's graduations, I don't have any kids by the grace of God, but really, man, during them years, a lot of the brothers here could feel it, you know what I mean? But that's a different type of hurt when you're away from your family for so long, you don't know. When you coming home, parole, playing with your day, pushing it back, you getting in fights, defending yourself. They don't care. All they know is you got in a fight. So now your date getting pushed back. It's a lot that going on with that. But yeah, it's just time lost. You know that you'll never get back that you really feel in the long run. And in terms of what it do to the family household, it's even more devastating when you really like get into it, because the man really is gone from the house. Rather it be, I'm young, but I am an able body in my house. I'm supposed to cut the grass, take the garbage out, do, what the man do at the house. If you take that away, it's like now you just leave the mom to really be the man and the woman. Because the man serving how Lord knows how many years, if it's months or days or whatever, but it's just like it ruins the dynamic of the household being trapped in that cycle itself, and that leads to the community. The community take the family, multiply it times 10. If the whole community don't have the man in the community, you have a community with exactly what you see today. You see kids killing kids, babies having babies, and it's like, it's really sad. And it's like, I want to sit here and try to tell you like it could get better. It's something we could do to change it, but like in reality, it's like.
That's leading me into my next question, though. Can you meaningful reform look like to you?
Meaningful reform will look like, I say this before, right? I said this earlier. I'm not, and it might sound crazy, but I'm gonna break it down for y'all. I'm not asking for like jails to be, what would I call it? I'm not asking for the jails to disappear, right? Because at the end of the day, there's gonna be crime, right? But what I'm asking for is for there to be a different journey when entering jail, right? So if I was to go to prison, right, or whatever, I feel as though there should be a mandatory stipulation for someone to receive education, right? I don't care how old you is or whatever. It should be mandatory that you receive a high school diploma. And even also going to college, because I didn't change my life until 3 years ago, right? I was still in prison. I just did 8.5 years. I was still there, and I had 5 years in, my mindset was still on going home and being a gang member, being back in my community and just being a man of my projects. But when I finally started to go to college is when my eyes was open to something different. So what I'm asking for is really, for there to be a better form of the person, like getting ready for the person to leave prison. So whereas though like you build up your education and then when you get out, they also have like parole and things of that nature, right? Like I'm on parole right now, and I feel like parole should have they should have like some form of relationship with warehouses or whatever. Like they should be more in tune with their clients, we're gonna say. And they should know who you are based off whatever rap sheet you had while you are in prison, so they know what they're dealing with when you get out. So that way they can help you find a job, right? So like I've been home for 4 months. I still don't have a job, and sometimes it's like all I know is the streets, right? It's easy for me to go outside and hustle just to put money in my pocket, right? But once again, I've been home for 4 months with no money in my pocket. So I feel as though paroles should have certain connections with like warehouses. So when you get out, you automatically have a job. You have something to do. There's none of that. You have officers who are disrespectful even to the teachers that come in. You have officers who are disrespectful to them. You have officers who are disrespectful to the mental health staff. Just the nurses, everybody that's there to kind of help the prisoners. The officers have an issue with them. So I feel like we should just, come up with a better way for people to build themselves in prison and then also start a journey when leaving prison.
From your perspective, how do race and racism shape people's experiences with the justice system?
Yes, so as you said from personal experience, I witnessed this as well. New Jersey has the highest racial disparity rate of melanated minorities in the country. There are more black people incarcerated in New Jersey than anywhere else in the United States. We have a certain stigma that we are not good for anything else other than being a criminal. So we already are perceived as felons or convicts or somebody that is prone to committing these type of crimes just based off of our skin color. And from experience, I learned from when I first came to prison, as opposed to, I'll say about 2 years into prison, once I started to become a paralegal and I started to go to school, I was treated differently. I was already viewed as an ignorant young black male when I came into prison. Once I became a paralegal, once I got my paralegal certificate, once I started going to school, they viewed me in a different light. Yes, that I was intelligent in a sense, but they didn't congratulate me on that. They actually viewed me as if I was a threat. And that caused a lot of disruption within the prison system. And it also invited a response from me that we need to go against them in a sense. That'll be a topic for later. However, as far as the way race goes, there is literally an entire culture, and a lot of people don't want to speak about this, but there is an entire culture centered around black people being criminals. We don't even look at ourselves in a good light, and the correctional authorities do not view us in a positive light at all. At all. So you will see the difference between the way they treat a Caucasian inmate as opposed to an African American inmate. It causes a lot of persecution. It invites a lot of oppression from correctional authorities who believe that we are where we belong, where we're in those cells. They will mistreat us. They will come and disrupt the peace in your own cell, your own small, tiny cell, disrupt your peace and explain it like as if it was a drug raid. If you say anything to an officer about the way you're living, the way the conditions are, say you're brown water, the water is coming out brown, you can't drink it, you can't bathe in it. If you're hot and your fan breaks because there's no air conditioning in the summer, if you complain about any of these type of issues, I have seen from experience, they will respond to an African American male or any melanated minority in a negative manner as opposed to the way they respond to a Caucasian male.
Statewide college program in prisons. You can get an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree depending on where you're located. So, Ben, do you want to talk about how did access to the college program shape your time inside and your opportunities after release?
I already had enough credits to get my high school diploma. I just had to finish one semester. What you think I did? I knocked that thing out real fast, right? Got through that semester, and there was a lady down there by the name of Miss Bolden, and she was the principal down there. And all the brothers know the ones who was down Garden State with me. Miss Bolden is like my mom. So once I graduated from high school, she like, yeah, you're gonna be a TA off the rip. It was like her first day there. She was like, I need you as a TA down there. Was a little bit special. So I'm like, what you looking at me like that for? You know what I mean? But I went in, and each class, it was like answer sheets. It was everywhere. So with my guys, we took all the answer sheets away. I was just like, you're gonna learn the right way. So when you get to college, because we always had the college program, but when you get to college, you know that you know what you're talking about. So we went down that journey for a while, and that was fun. And then that's when I got into my associates with NJ Step, and I wasn't prepared. I think one semester I got 3 straight Fs. I was just like, yeah, this ain't me, right? So I buckled down and I just started working. I feel as though college inside, even with the pandemic, we was dealing with a lot, right? College inside kept me disciplined. Because if I did not get to this place, like why did I get this far to not go that extra mile? You know what I mean? Or why didn't I learn this much to even learn a little bit more? I learned, we had a class about women gender studies. It opened up my eyes so much. And it's not, it's crazy because it seemed like every teacher was, either transitioning or was in that, I would say, I want to say realm because I want to be disrespectful, but in that category, that's still not trying to be disrespectful. You know what I mean? But every person, and I got the chance to talk to every person. It was no bias. It was no negativity. It wasn't no judgment. It was just you coming to teach me. I'm blessed. Let's go. And so I started learning. College opened up your eyes to so much if you've been inside for so long. By the time that I got to that, I was around like my 4th year. And so I'm thinking like I need to do something, and this is what I'm going to get placed with. It was hard in the beginning, but it got me stronger at the end. Because once I graduated, it was like a year or 2 later, I left. We had the documentary thing that she was talking about before, and once I got home and I was ready for college with New Brunswick, I got through my first semester like it was a breeze. Because I'm like, I went through all this stuff. Like, y'all got computers. I had books. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like Google to me is like my best friend. ChatGPT is my homie. But that's what I came home and I flooded through. But I only flooded through because of discipline that I had through my time in that prison. It was everything, they say like you don't know what you miss until you don't have it anymore. Education is one of those. Like what bro's saying, like if I could tell you all the arguments I got in on my bunkie, and wish I had Google, like some that deep, like just to search for knowledge, like you in there, like some people crave it. I was one of those that craved it. You know what I mean? So I'm asking my mom to send me books. The bros sent me, they never sent me books. And like none of my homies, they never sent me no books. Like, my mom did. And then when I got into NJ Step, that was a complete changer for me because now I felt like I was doing that time for a purpose at that point. Like every day went to, I got class. Like my brother right here, like how we was coming in there, like, man, we going to the classes, we missing rec. I'm missing church, July, all going to them classes, man. That's what it was doing for me because I knew, like, and it created, like, a light at the end of the tunnel, like, in a sense that I'm thinking, like, when I go home, I'm gonna further this. Like, it's really, and you see, like, I definitely am. I really left no, like, ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I'm like, yo, we gotta go through this because I was blessed with this opportunity for a reason, I felt like. Then they just bring back the Pell Grants or something like that allow NJ Step to, you know what I mean? So like everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer of, so I try to walk in that purpose. So, education for me, while I was in there, it was literally like my lifeline, and I promised myself when I come out, I'm gonna keep going. You ask me, I'm going for my doctorate in a little bit.
Hi, my name is Malaya. It's great to hear you guys. First of all, it's such an experience to definitely get a different side or a different perspective of what goes on inside and how it comes out and how you can change as a person. My question is, a genuine fear as somebody who's coming from a Gen Z generation, seeing the way our politics are changing and the way our systems are evaporating out of before our hands. Do you believe that your biggest fear right now is that as people are getting older and as kids are getting into high school, is your biggest fear generally that the generation that goes into the system is getting younger, or is it the fact that they have no choice but to do the things to get younger, to be generally be in the system as they go on?
I've been waiting. So I left that part on my first response. I really feel like it's getting younger due to like cultural advances or decline, like whatever you want, which way you want to go with it. Because like I said, the Generation X and the Ys, like they were incarcerating them mainly of drugs, some shootings and all that. I feel like our generation being more targeted for like violent stuff because that's what we push. If you look at the rap, if you look at everybody high nowadays, smoking weed, it's like that's what's going on. So now it's like the cops and the courts, they have a new quota. Well, we did the crime on drugs, the war on drugs. We're gonna do the war on crime. Like we're gonna get all the they paint us like mass murders, but in a way it's like they wilding out there, but it's like arresting them not the core issue. Is educating them. Why do they feel like they gotta skip school? School ain't teaching them nothing. They gotta be on the block toting guns. Like I don't know. It's deep, but it's definitely getting younger and younger for a fact.
Yeah. If you if in many of our environments you got like I live in the hood. I live in Trenton, right? But before then I lived in Camden. And before that I lived in Lindenwood. I was in Dyford, so I bounced around, right? And the one thing that I recognize is this. And it was crazy because when I was in Camden and then I went to Lindenwood, I saw two different things going on. In the hood, when I went to my school and everything like that, I didn't have many papers in the books, so they stopped going to school. Cause it's like, bro, you're not teaching me nothing. And the people that is teaching me something is like, they don't really know what the hell is going on. It's like, I'm not really trying to learn this. I'm trying to learn how to survive tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's like, mom probably not there, or even dad's probably not there, or probably don't have enough financial assistance. See, when you're asking that question, you got to look at like a lot of that type of stuff. Environment. You got to look at circumstances. You got to look at the household, because I'm not gonna lie to you. Even in 2014, I was in a youth facility before they shipped me downstate. They had a tier for kids. Like it was a few kids in there. That's like 8, 9. I used to watch Scare Straight and did Scare Straight before in there. These kids is pissing on their moms and robbing their dads and fighting everybody at school like that. They don't know how to express themselves because they didn't get the love that they received when they was children. So therefore, wherever they go, they're going to relay that type of anger because at the end of the day, that's the only emotion they know.
It's Julia. I have so many questions because I'm not a political science student. I'm here based on two very brief but passionate conversations with Professor Liebel. For me, though, most importantly, I'm curious, as someone who believes that like creativity and self-expression is as like fundamental of a human right as the right to breathe, the right to shelter, and whatnot. What influence do you believe that the arts, accessibility to the arts, whether it be, in childhood, while incarcerated, or post-incarceration, what impact do you feel like that would have had on your lives?
I had I was very passionate about drawing when I was growing up, for sure. I couldn't draw myself, but you couldn't tell me it weren't my drawings. I used to like outline like Tom and Jerry, like Goku, like that in the color, but I felt like I was drawing it. And I don't know, maybe if I kept going, like I definitely could have, progressed to, fall in love with art more. Music really is more of my, my thing. I don't make music, but I have like like a Beethoven ear for music. Like I like Beethoven.
We appreciate you, but if you talk to any of the brothers who's incarcerated, her specifically, that's completely contributed to our lives in a positive way, completely changed our lives. So, even just going to class, when we leave our chairs, right? I can tell you, I was on West House. If anybody knows what West House was in Garden State, it was the worst. It was the worst tier. It was the worst tier. Every time I left, somebody's getting packed. Pardon me. Somebody's getting jumped. Somebody's getting punched on. Somebody's getting poked up. It's cold, whatever the case may be. Leaving that type of environment just to go to an environment where it's humane. Everybody wants to learn, and it was just peaceful. And to be treated like this by somebody from the outside, it was great. Man. Even the conversations that we had amongst each other in class, like, to even feel comfortable enough to have those conversations with each other, it was great. She had to be there. She had to teach us the conversations we had. She educated us a lot. It was great.
I'm like to add on, right? I never had her class. I met her. I think she was coming in for study hall. But a person that was similar to her for me was Professor Avalon. I don't even know if y'all might have ever known. Do you know Professor Avalon? Yes.
Can you film this?
She was so she was like so happy, right? Like she brought so much light, right? Because in the I'm gonna say in the prison system, it's kind of like you have to be one way. Like he said, you're walking around, you mean mugging all day, right? So it's kind of like when they come in, they help you in a sense get out the cell, right? They help you, you get out the cell, and then you still walking through the prison system. But then as soon as you see a teacher, you light up, right? And they show you a certain amount of respect. Like it's to the point they want to hug you, right? But they know they can't.
But they can't.
Just like that alone, like kind of meeting these people and having regular conversations besides the officer talking about an inmate or an inmate talking about an officer or an inmate talking about another inmate. To have a conversation with a teacher and they're teaching you about worldly knowledge and, you know, just treating you like a regular human being. It's kind of like they're like a savior. They give you light. So that's what the teachers does for us.
I almost failed her class. The one thing y'all don't know about me, I keep it funky. Look, I almost failed her class. I love her to death. You see how they was trying to keep it. You know, they like, oh yeah. But they said to his back, still like, oh yeah, don't trust him. He creepy the whole time. I'm like, how y'all doing? You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, Bex, I definitely say is Rebecca. It's a few, but the one who I always knew that, like, you know, just talking and everything like that, like, she helped me in a moment where I felt as though, like, being stagnant. I was in my last few years in my bed. I'm just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. But it's crazy enough, when I first started her class and we went through everything, my birthday came around. Why is her behind writing up there on the board, Benjamin Young's birthday, whatever the case may be?
Oh my god, I remember that.
Got everybody looking at me like, it's your birthday, so now I'm like, I'm getting beat up tonight. I was like, nah, don't like this, like, nah. But then it was like, when I seen, like, the CO do that, is like, you know, I'm goofy, but at the same time, I get serious, and I can interpret something real fast, and I just peep that as, like, they're trying to knock the light that she's bringing here. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta think about it. Everybody's moving like a robot, and then you got Bex over here walking through the hall like, "What's up, guys?" Look, when I tell you, I love it. Like,
She got in trouble for that too.
every time. You're like, stop talking to everybody. She's like, well, you said hi first.
I want to commend all of you young men for being here, because this, ladies and gentlemen, is real life, right? These aren't just stories. This is part of their lives. Not to say that they're being put on display, because they want to be here. And I can see out of each and every one of these young men, that they want to see the younger generation do better. They do not want them to end up where they are. It is a blessing that you're here. You're sharing this information. I wish this was a room full of young people. Younger, I should say, younger people. I commend you, Rebecca, for taking an interest, because these young men and women who are also in prison, they need some type of connection to the outside. They need that support. It is imperative. No matter what the issue is, no matter what situation happened to put you in a position of imprisonment, you still need support, because at the end of the day, they're still people, right? They're already being judged. They were judged and sentenced. And so they're already serving out that sentence, that punishment, and going behind the walls, they are put in more danger, I think, than they were out on the street. Okay, with the seals. I might be saying too much, but I only fear God. That's it.
We got your
so-
back, Mom.
Some may say I'm a little too militant, but I'm gonna try
We got
to
your back.
keep that down. So I try to move with grace and class. But you know, reality. It is a reality. What is happening, and it's disheartening because it's not good. This is 2025. The issues of race, they're not going anywhere. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
It is getting worse.